So Bob, you're working back on the, you guys are working on the turntable,
Yes.
and one of our biggest concerns are
Just trying to keep the
is
thing.
trying to get it in line, you know.
Yeah.
You
It's
know, right now, cause
because of the temperature and the humidity. Trying to keep it lined up is
yeah, it's
not
really
the
hard to get
easiest
this thing
thing.
to line up. Now that's
And
perfect. That's a perfect line up there.
okay. Okay. Oops.
Are you okay on that side?
Okay, now we got some weight on there. Now we'll go to 1, which this will be 1 right over there.
Anyway, we're trying to be able to flip the switch over there, and which in turns the turnout. Not turnout.
The turntable.
Turntable, I should say. And it's right on it. Looks good.
Okay.
Let's go one more over. Right on the button.
That was nothing to line up.
Off.
Okay. Well, I'll go under there and adjust it, but we'll check these other
Okay.
ones again. Oh, I forgot to look to see if this was lined up.
That's right on the button.
Okay.
It's off.
Okay.
So,
So-
2 of those.
So that one and this one.
Yep. Anyway, a lot of work to put on this.
Well, we can move the track on this one.
Huh?
We can move the track.
Oh.
Okay, we got the water in, but now we're starting to do some ballasting. As you can see, all along here is ballast. It's a little dark right now because it's still wet. Works really well. That we take a brush and we always put the glue on, as you can see, like in this area here on the side, we always touch it up with glue with a brush, and then we go back, we take the ballast with the spoon and we just kind of put it in that area like Jim is doing right now. Let me see if I can get in here and watch him. Good. Steady hand and all. Jim, I think you worked for the railroad. Of course, I worked for the railroad for 37 years. I never did. I learned more about railroading when I got into HO than when I worked. Of course, that's what happens when you're a finance man and not an operating guy. It's nice. He puts that in there, takes a brush, pushes it in between the ties and all, pats it down, and then we follow up with water and alcohol in this thing right here. And what I'll be doing is going behind him and just simply putting this in on the dry ballast. And after I get that wet it down, and then I end up following up with water and glue. And then I'll come along here and we'll put glue all through here. The reason for the water and the alcohol is because it soaks in, right? Soaks into the ballast and then allows the glue to soak in right after it, which really works out well. But if you ever try to put water down without alcohol mixed in it, it will just beat up.
That's because this ballast from Woodland Scenics is made out of walnut shells, and they want to have a tendency to float. And there is some ballast that you can get that's actually made out of rock, but I don't remember now the company.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's why the
And you
water.
wouldn't have that.
That's why the water without the. What? How does the alcohol? What does the alcohol do to the water?
It breaks the surface tension of the water, so it flows. Water has a tendency to beat up.
Let's see, I think
You
this
put
is-
alcohol and maybe a little bit of soap
How this goes.
in there.
Paint it in
Okay,
there.
right now we're going to go ahead and we're going to, let me get on this side. He's going to put the water and alcohol down. And you put it down fairly lightly because the fact, if you notice here, it starts spreading on the dry. Alcohol was not in there.
And I put it down on the track so I don't disturb the ballast.
And you let it soak in from the top
Let it-
down through it.
Yeah, once it gets down to the bottom, then you're ready to put your glue in there. And you see that it spreads into the middle too.
Yes.
So you can do that all in one application. Almost all the way down to the bottom now.
It
So
is, yeah.
so that's ready to
Yeah,
ready
you
to
never
apply
even put
glue.
any on the side. You actually started at the rail.
just put it on the rail and let
and you
it
can
let it go
see
down.
soak it in right now.
Because sometimes you have a tendency to put it right on the ballast itself. It will make crack or
Yes.
lines in it.
Yeah.
It will disturb the
Okay.
ballast.
Okay, and then with the glue, you'll follow up. And this is what we got, glue and water mix together. And this comes out pretty good here. And there it is.
It actually looks like a dirty spot on that.
There's nothing wrong with getting the glue, you know, it all soaks in. And that will harden pretty good.
That should be enough.
That should be enough to take it. And that'll dry and it will look good. And there you go. When you get into the switch, the turnouts area, and you're balancing.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think?
Okay, you got to find out where your pivot points is right here,
Okay.
and you got to and what I usually do is I take my ballast and instead of using a spoon, I would actually take it and drop it in
Very careful.
around that, because you don't want to get any glue onto that. There's a crack down in there, but you want to do this very light. You want to stay away from this part, because that's where that's going to switch.
Okay.
And it'll look a little bit lighter than what you have back here, but you don't want to mess up any of your contacts.
Yes.
And when I come down around here, I'll ballast like maybe down there, but I'll leave this go up here at top.
Won't touch that area.
And then when you put your glue down, you got to be very, very careful not to get glue on that area.
Okay.
Same way on this side. You see there's a crack down there in the center. You
Yeah.
know, put a little bit at a time,
Yeah.
and just be sure that there's no, because you want this to slide over there. And if
Very careful.
and right in here you see there's ballast in there. I'll take a toothpick before I glue it down, and I'll clean out those flangeways and the frogs, so that there's no ballast in there. I mean, you could clean it up afterwards, but it sure is a lot easier to clean it up before you glue it down.
You know, one of my subscribers had questioned about sharting out over the when his car engine would go over the turnout, and I mentioned to him about a frog, and he came back wasn't sure what a frog was. So the frog on a switch, and I couldn't describe it, and here's a picture of one.
Okay, this is a frog right here. It comes to a point.
Yep.
Right in here. That's called a frog.
And sometimes there's problems with the frog. Gives you problems with
Well,
even
these are insul frogs, which means that the frog is insulated. You can tell right there. There's a gap right there. It's got plastic in there, so the tracks aren't touching.
Yep.
And this point right here is also plastic, so that trains coming from this direction, see that's really this outside rail. And so if you have another car coming this way and that was touching, that would be a short across there. So that has to be insulated. So those two rails do not touch there.
Ah, okay.
It's called an insul frog.
I hope that helps them. understand what that is.
You see Union Pacific ran a stoplight?
Another subscriber mentioned about our turntable here and about lights at the end. In other words, we click it to a certain point, a light would come on. You know what he's talking about that, Bob?
Yeah, basically just having an indicator that shows which track that you have the box turned on to.
Okay.
Like
So if you switch to switch number 3,
Yeah.
for example.
Like we've got this box right here, and number 1 would be that first track there.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, flipping it over to that would actually light up that track. If you had a light,
So the light
on
would
the
be
end
like
of
at the
it.
end here,
Yeah.
and that's where if you put on 1 here, that thing will automatically, that light would show, and what it do is just telling you that's the hot track, that's where
Yeah.
you're going to go to. And we talked about doing that at one
Yeah.
time, and it's just one of those priorities,
Yep.
you know.
Just
The other
have to-
thing that somebody asked about is that on the mountains over here,
Uh-huh.
they said that we need something like a, what do you
Oh,
call it?
walkway.
A walkway
Yeah,
or
we're-
something that goes from one mountain edge to the other, you know.
Yeah, we had talked about over on this other
Talking about on
side
this
here
side over here, right?
that we were going to put a suspension bridge over that other area there, and it'd be
That'd
kind
be
of cool looking.
That would be cool. And maybe we may do take your suggestion on that and maybe put something over there like that. I think that would be pretty cool. So anyway,
Yeah.
again, you know, we'll appreciate your comments and suggestions, and sometimes we'll put them in there. And like this one here, I think we might look at something like that. Now it comes the time we got to glue.
Yeah.
the
So
switch to ballast.
this is the mechanism right here. You want to stay away from this mechanism there. And you don't want any ballast on top of that rail because this has to slide over the top of that. So I put just a little bit of ballast. You don't have to ballast as heavy as you do a main track. And then just come back and put a drop of glue
Yeah, don't let it
right down.
still wet.
I can't get right here. Hold on a minute. Let me try. Hang in there.
Right down in there.
There's, I noticed that it was
Very
up
carefully.
against the rail.
Well, you're not gonna.
And then once you get past that
Right,
pivot point there, you don't have to worry about it too much
You just back it.
because the rest of that is just a frozen rail.
I mean,
This number
But,
is
on
the
here,
track.
Like right down in here, stay away from that
It's dead
that
nice.
part.
it's not the main one. It's the main
I even cleared some of the ballast away from there so it wouldn't wick up into there.
It's off the
Yeah.
track. We'll have to clean it up.
There you go. Nice ballast job too. You can see how the ballast looks. Really nice. Very nice.